Recorded Books and One-Click Digital present The Battle for Hell's Island, How a Small Band of Carrier Dive Bombers Helped Save Guadalcanal, by Stephen L. Moore. Narrated by Pete Bradbury. Preface. If you're going to miss with your bomb, you may as well stay home and let a good pilot take your place. The sharp words still sizzled in Lieutenant Bernie Strong's mind as he looked at the perfect scene playing out before him. 14,000 feet below, on the blue Pacific surface, were the distinctive flat lines of two Japanese aircraft carriers. Bernie had a determined calm about him as he briefly eyed the thin white wakes streaming behind the gleaming yellow-hued hardwood flight decks far below his dive bomber. "I couldn't ask for a better setup," he thought. A dive bomber pilot's dream. He hadn't felt as happy the night before as he sat in the carrier Enterprise's wardroom. The ship's air officer, Commander John Cromlin, had lectured his aviators about what he'd expected from them the following day. Bernie puffed on his cigarette and gulped black coffee as the commander barked, "The Japs are determined to drive us out of the South Pacific. If they get through to Guadalcanal with their carriers tomorrow, the Japs will take it. If Guadalcanal falls, our lifeline to Australia will be menaced." Cromlin emphasized that his aviators were to concentrate on knocking out the enemy's carriers. The comment about letting a good pilot take your place if necessary had particular harshness for Bernie Strong that wasn't felt by the more junior aviators. Just 2 months before, he had sighted and reported a Japanese carrier force off the Solomon Islands. Instead of attacking, he'd led his wingman home, a decision he now regretted for weeks. Cromlin had, of course, chastised Strong's decision not to attack. Since that day, most of Strong's squadron had been granted leave back to the States, but not Bernie. He'd been ordered right back out to the Pacific War Zone to continue the fight for Guadalcanal. Now, the third senior pilot of a new scout-bombing carrier squadron, he had one goal: to prove his valor to Commander Cromlin by blasting the next Japanese carrier he faced. In his own mind, however, Bernie had nothing to prove to himself. He'd been involved in almost every major Pacific offensive since the start of World War II 10 months ago. The handsome, blonde-haired, blue-eyed pilot had a swagger of confidence that he'd earned. In February, he was one of the first pilots to attack Japanese shipping in the Gilbert Islands. In March, he'd attacked Japanese shipping in the New Guinea harbors of Lae and Salamaua. In early May, he'd made 3 more attacks against Japanese ships in Tulagi Harbor in the Solomons. Strong had dive-bombed the Japanese carrier Shoho 3 days later during the Coral Sea carrier battle, and then used his SBD Dauntless dive bomber like a fighter to battle Japanese Zero fighters attacking his own task force. Lieutenant Strong was a top-notch pilot who had racked up 800 flight hours since graduating from the U.S. Naval Academy in 1937. His awards already included a Navy Cross, an honor second only to a Medal of Honor. He was good at what he did, and wasn't afraid to let others know of his confidence. He knew that some considered him to be arrogant, but the cocky scout pilot from Washington, D.C. needed more than his impressive record to restore the goodwill of his air officer. Strong's failure to attack the Japanese carrier in August off the Eastern Solomons was a personal mission to correct. Now, on the morning of October 26, 1942, was his fresh chance. High above the Pacific, Bernie Strong was leading one of the 8 teams of SBDs in the early Scout Strike mission. He was fired up and ready to make his bomb count. "I think you'll find the yellow bellies are in your sector," Bernie told his squadron skipper before takeoff. "When you find them, call out loud." His skipper had indeed located the enemy, and Strong moved in quickly with his wingman, Ensign Chuck Irvine. They soon spotted the Japanese carriers Shokaku and Zuiho emerging from under a layer of clouds far below their dive bombers. Uncle John Cromlin's speech the previous evening left little doubt in Bernie's mind. His mission was to turn back the Japanese carriers that threatened thousands of U.S. Marines on Guadalcanal and the course of America's first Pacific offensive. Uncle John had made it clear that the aviators should knock the sons of bitches off the face of the earth. Bernie glanced over to Irvine.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?